Welcome, TEI family, to another episode of The Everyday Investor. Today, we have a very special guest. This gentleman, simply put, is built to overcome adversity. From his days on the field to his days off the field, this gentleman continues to live out his purpose and positively affect lives across the world. Please help me welcome Todd Duckett.
What's happening? What's happening? What's
What's
happening?
going on, Todd?
What's up, baby?
I'm excited to have you on for a number of reasons. One of which, growing up, I was a fan. I remember those days when, man, those Atlanta Falcon days when it was you, Warwick Dunn, as well as Michael Vick, doing your guys' thing. So from a selfish standpoint, I'm looking forward to that. But I think also a lot of people are going to get, the viewers are going to get just some jewels and some nuggets based on kind of your story and especially the athletes being able to make that successful transition from the playing days, whether it was collegiate or professional days, to just being able to successfully transition into from that to to life after football. And you have done a great job. You have a number of things that you're doing today, which I want to hit on each and every one of those because I think they're all necessary and I think they're important. But I guess I like to start going back. Growing up, how was growing up? I know you're from Kalamazoo. How was growing up in Kalamazoo? Just being Todd Duckett.
Well, I was TJ back then.
Okay.
But I mean, it was all I knew. I mean, it was phenomenal. It was great.
Yep.
I love Kalamazoo. I love the people. I love my childhood. I loved everything about it. I mean, I would do it all over. And looking back on my life, a lot of times, I don't like. There's so many things that come up.
Yep.
My past that taught me lessons that I'm putting into play today. And while they were going on, while they were happening, you're a kid. You're 0 to 18, really.
Yep.
And the people that my family surrounded me with, the teachers that I had, the coaches that I had, the community leaders that I had. I mean, it was a perfect storm. It was the best case scenario for me.
So at what point did you figure out that, okay, I'm different, especially as it relates to the athletic side of things? Again, I'm not as nearly or was nearly the player that you were growing up. But again, I just remember being, as I was growing up, because I was from the west side of the state as well, from a town called Muskegon, which I'm pretty sure you heard of. And again, it's pretty good growing up. My first recruiting letter was to Princeton University in the 10th grade, playing varsity. But even kind of before that, it always seemed like, okay, you're different, whether the coaches or just the community is treating you as such. So I guess with that being said, I guess for you, at what point growing up, whether it was middle school, whether it was high school, did you like, okay, I'm different, especially as it relates to just athletics in general?
Yeah. I think that part of the conversation, I don't think came up until I was done playing football, to be honest, to my career was over. Because how would I know what's different?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I mean, I know that I put work in.
Yep.
I mean, I wasn't always good. I mean, I was terrible at times.
Really?
Starting from, I mean, my first time playing rocket football, I was a center, and I could barely run. Like, I go back and watch footage, I'm tripping over myself. I don't know what I'm doing.
Wow.
And then over time, you just keep putting the work in. You just keep putting the work in, and for the most part, I mean, I just have my blinders on. I mean, this is each year you start to. I mean, I'm 8, I'm 9, I'm 12, I'm 11. Okay, we winning. Give me the ball. Like, things are happening. But at the same time, it's during my, and I'm gonna say like, my time. Everyone's gonna say their time was special,
right?
But I'm gonna say my time was special because I had amazing teammates that we all worked hard, but we also had amazing opponents who also worked hard.
Yep.
So it wasn't like we were just showing up, blowing teams out.
Yep.
It wasn't like, I mean, we did have some of those though, but it wasn't like I was doing everything by myself.
Gotcha.
So it was an overall community. It was a team, a family of, this is who we are.
Okay.
We put in the work, and we got to either go beat the crosstown, we got to go beat the town, whatever that is. And so as a whole, collectively, we kept feeding off of each other.
Gotcha.
And, you know, it wasn't until I got done playing when I was like 28, 29,
Yep.
when I was looking back at my life, like, man, that work ethic was different.
Wow.
Like, dang, people don't do that. People didn't do that. People don't have these records. People
Right.
didn't set these standards. And but while you're in it, you know, and like my dad would always, like, I would do something amazing.
Okay.
And my dad, I'd be like, Dad, you know, I did this amazing thing. He would look at me with a straight face, like, so are you done yet? And
Wow.
I'm like, dang, what you mean? Am I done? Okay, what's next? What do I got? So there was never a time when someone was like, you know, you're gonna do this, you're doing this, and I put it in my head, like, yeah, you're right. That's me. It was just my lifestyle, my habit.
No, and I was going to ask you that as far as just from a family standpoint, because you know you had an older brother who you know was great as well in football, and then it seems like you know just your parents, at least that story you're telling about your dad, he was more so grounding you or humbling you, like, hey, you know, you did something good, whether it's a football game or whatever the case may be, but I mean you have more to go. Are you done yet? Don't continue to no, it seems like just live off those successes and think you've arrived. So I guess how was it, you know, just kind of growing up with your brother, with who he was, your older brother with you, who he was, but then I guess your parents, did they always take that approach of hey, let's not celebrate too early, but continue to put in the work and
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean you know, watching my older brother Tico, it wasn't until 4th grade that I realized he was doing something.
Okay.
And
What made you think that? What event happened as you were like, okay, this
I'm in 4th grade, and my classmates, like, he had a big game one Saturday.
Okay.
I come back to school the next day,
Yep.
and they're like, hey, wait a minute. They start connecting the dots, like, hey, is this? And I'm like, yeah. And then it was a Thanksgiving, and you know, during Thanksgiving, my friends were like, can I get his autograph? Can I get his autograph? So Tico, he took his notepad and signed a bunch of autographs, and I still got it upstairs. He signed to me, to the little punk in the 4th grade is what he signed to me. I got it upstairs.
So what grade was he in at this point?
He was probably, I don't know, he was probably a sophomore or junior in college.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
he's at Michigan State now, so he's like, he's getting off.
And so when you were in the 4th grade, he was in college.
He's 11 years older than me.
Okay. Wow.
So I went back to lunch that following day or following week after Thanksgiving with all these autographed little posted cards. You know, I'm like, you know, giving them out, and people was like going crazy over them. Can my dad get one? And I'm like, who is this?
Right. And so you had no idea at this point what was going on.
I had no idea. I mean, it's my brother. And again, it's like, but see, the difference is I saw all the work. You can see the work. When you see the work, when you see the work, that makes everything normal. Yeah. I mean, it's like, wow, I see him putting in the work. I see him coming home from school, come from college, and waking up at 5, 6 in the morning just to go run around the neighborhood. Like, I'm seeing him doing these things. I'm seeing him in the weight room. I'm seeing him. So, you know, it's like there's no magical ingredient. This is just what you do. Yeah. But y'all think that's special? Okay, I guess. Yeah. You know?
So was that, because for me, it seems like the greatest thing that a human can give another human or whatever, it's, at least in my opinion, is inspiration. So, you know, just to be inspired by someone else is something that I mean, I think is a great gift. So as you were coming up, was it just like the standard that, you know, it was set, or were you inspired by the things that at any point in time, were you inspired by the things that your older brother were doing, or was it just like, no, he's doing this and this is just the expectation?
I mean, I knew the ingredients to cook.
Got you.
So I knew, okay, he goes off and he has this big game. You know, big game might be 2 touchdowns, 100 some yards. Okay. Right. How did you do that? Well, you hit this road work, hit this weight room. Okay, so now I'm like, well, let me go. And now I'm still a kid. And I'm like, okay, well, let me get 100 yards. Let me get 2 touchdowns. Like, okay, I'm getting. And then as you start to move up in these ranks, and you see, like, okay, so this other kid had 100 yards. Okay, this other kid. Okay, so we competing now. Right. So then the inspiration, he's definitely having somebody in your family, having somebody that you can actually grab a hold onto and see to humanize them. But at the same time, it's like, okay, we're not just competing with ourselves. Right. And I still, like, my family, we've never said I'm going to be the best. Right. It was never like the goal was in the beginning. The goal wasn't to be the best.
Okay.
The goal was to do the best you can.
Right.
And is that doing what is that doing everything at practice, or is that doing everything at practice and then doing some more after practice and then doing some more later? So it was always just let's keep working. And because I loved it, it wasn't work. I mean, we would turn the games into how many push-ups can you do? It's a game.
Yeah.
I mean, how fast can you run around the house on your mark, get set, go? Like, okay, you ran around the house in 15 seconds. Can you do 14? I don't know. I mean, so that was like the little things that we did as a family that we just, I mean, enter competing against, but it was more just like just pushing each other.
Got you.
No, and I'm a kid now, so I'm 11 years old, and I have my oldest brother is 14 years older than me.
Okay,
so I got two older brothers.
Got you.
That are, and then my dad he's been teaching at Laurie Norks High School going on 55 years now.
He's still there?
He's still there.
Wow.
So he's been a track coach, football coach, basketball coach.
Wow.
So now at the same time, I'm a kid. I'm a little 8, 4 or 5, whatever, and I'm going to practice, and I'm like just sitting on the sidelines, throwing the ball up against the bleachers.
Yeah.
I'm running at the track, running underneath the hurdles, playing in the sand pit. But at the same time, I'm seeing people pay the price. I'm seeing people getting cussed out at practice. I'm like, oh, so you tell me if I do what the coach says, I ain't gonna get yelled at?
Right.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I also see like players or especially in track, you see people practicing. I mean, they're throwing up. They're just like giving it all they got.
Yeah.
This is practice.
Right.
And you're like, okay, so I'm seeing all this stuff as kids happening. And then you start to actually get there. And it's like, man, it's practice and I can't breathe. Well, okay, but that's going to make the game easier. Like all these things.
Yep.
So as I got older, it was just like a Rubik's Cube. I just started, what I'm saying? Like, and then God blessed me with ability.
Yep.
And so, that's kind of how it was for me.
So then at what point did you start, like the college thing became, okay, this is about to happen. So I guess the recruiting letters, how was that recruiting as you're in high school? You started getting recruiting letters, at some point, whether it was your sophomore, junior year. I guess, how did you navigate that situation? Because again, your brother, he went to Michigan State. So did you just like from the beginning, hey, I'm going to play at Michigan State, or was it like a real thing trying to recruit you to go to all these different schools? Because you're one of the best backs in the country at that point.
Yeah, it was a real thing. So I got my first recruiting letter in 8th grade. And
who gave you the recruiter? Who recruited you in the 8th grade?
I got my first one from Wisconsin in 8th grade.
That's crazy.
And just so happened at the end of my 8th grade year, I tore my patella tendon. I pulled my kneecap off.
Okay.
So I was starting to feel myself. I'm on my way to high school. They kind of looking like, okay, so and so coming next year. We had Lil John Flowers was already up there. Okay. So we had an amazing high school team already. And I mean, I'm on my way.
Right.
So I get hurt and I end up having to sit out my whole freshman year. But during that whole freshman year, all I did was work.
Right.
I put on like 70, 80 pounds of muscle. So now I'm 250-pound 10th grader, rocked up. And I mean, to be able to have a dream, then have the dream somewhat taken away.
Yep.
And the question is now, okay, how bad do you want it?
Right.
Well, I can barely bend my leg, but I had a dream. So to be able to watch as a freshman, as a rookie, watch everything unfolding. And I realized like high school kids don't lift weights. A lot of them didn't.
Yep, you're right. You're right.
And I had the whole year to train. And so then I come out my sophomore year, like, I mean, I've been training. And so my sophomore year, I realized, or my freshman year, I learned what it took to be committed. I learned the basics of life pretty much.
Okay.
Discipline, commitment, that hunger, how to sacrifice. Like, I mean, from like school would end at 2:20. I wouldn't leave the building till like 7 p.m.
Oh, you were putting in work.
Putting in work for like 8 months straight, just work. And then all of a sudden, it's like, wow, this I'm stronger than you. I'm faster than you.
All that.
Okay, well, let me keep lifting. Let me keep doing these things that are helping me sharpen my tools.
Right.
And again, that just becomes a habit now. So you tell me to go in the weight room, okay. Well, other people are like, we got 10 reps. I'm gonna get you a good 6.
Right.
I'm trying to get 12. just because I know it works. So that work ethic is really what sparked it for me. And then after that, I mean, that's what kind of set me apart from that point.
Okay.
Now I'm not just competing with my teammates or kids in my community, but now you start to look over to the next town, to the next state. You pick up the paper and you like, man, somebody in Texas has 5 touchdowns. Well, who is that? Okay, I need 5 touchdowns. That's my competition now. And so then once that kind of opened up the whole playbook, if you will, now letters start coming, coaches start coming, and you know, the best athlete, the best person, whatever, is a self-motivated person. So
100% agree.
You don't need to come in and tell me to get in the weight room. You don't need to come and tell me to work hard. Like, I know, and I know
already doing it.
Just point me in a direction, baby, and I'm gone. And so that's what separated me in that space and allowed me the opportunity to choose what college I wanted to go to.
Okay.
And during that process, I took an official visit to Michigan State. I took one to the school down the road. I took one to Florida State, UCLA, and Notre Dame.
Wow.
Those are my 5 visits. And the biggest thing that my family told me was like, yeah, football, all those schools are great football schools, all of them. But football is only a few months a year. So what school do you want to go to that you can actually enjoy for the rest of the time?
That's true.
And you know, it didn't hurt that when my brother was at Michigan State, I would go up there and hang out with him.
Right.
So I got to know the campus. I got to know the area. I got to know the football facility. A couple coaches were even still there.
Really?
I got there. So I had a chance to like know a lot of these things.
Right.
And majority of the time when I went to hang out with Tico, it was the off season. So I could see what he's doing. I could see what the players were doing in the off season. I'm like, okay, I like it.
Yeah.
And then you look at all the other schools that I visited, you know, the school down the road, that campus is different.
Yeah.
UCLA is across the country. That's different.
Yep.
You know, all these places are just different. And Michigan State, I mean, it felt like home. And I knew in the off season, I would enjoy being a college student in East Lansing.
Right. No, that makes perfect sense. So, because this was the time at Michigan State, this one, like Nick Saban was there. So did you have any like crazy recruiting stories with him trying to get you there? Or was it just kind of basically taking what your family is telling you about, hey, football is only 2 months out the year, and hey, what school are you going to really enjoy during the off season, really enjoy being there? Was it just really that being a big determining factor, or was it things that were done from a recruiting standpoint with Nick Saban and his staff at Michigan State that was just better than like the other schools that you took official visits to?
I mean, Coach Saban and that staff was phenomenal.
Okay.
I mean, they were great, and they recruited me well. I mean, I got recruited well across the board, but you go back now to my background, and I had a brother that played Division I sport. I had a father who understood what it meant to be in that space. I had a mother who was a teacher, a special ed teacher for 38 years. Wow. So I had an amazing support system.
Yeah, sounds like
it. And so I mean, not only are you talking to me, but you're talking to these really educated, experienced people who are in my corner.
Right.
So they're giving me the information that I need to understand to be the best me.
Right.
So to sell a program, you really can't sell me nothing.
Yep.
Like, I mean, I'm looking for these things.
Yep.
And I know what I'm looking for. I mean,
do you have them or not?
Yeah, pretty much. And Michigan State pretty much, checked all the boxes. And the fact that Nick Saban's the head coach,
right?
The fact that they're starting to have some success, like things that it's even better.
Yep. I was going to say, Nick Saban, he definitely turned that program around. Do you still keep in contact with him today, or
no, not a whole lot? No.
Okay, but do you, like, if you guys bump into each other, it's I'm pretty sure to be like a good laugh or things like that.
I was hurt that he left. You know what I mean? He was a big factor for me to go to school there. This is your head coach for the next 3-4 years.
Yep.
That's part of the recruiting.
No, yeah. I mean, and I think people, they don't understand it as much when you do, when you were recruited by a particular coach and he leaves, how much that can play, regarding your playing time. It's a lot of factors that goes into when your coach who recruited you leave, and another regime comes in, and whether or not they have any, they don't necessarily have any ties to you in the same way that the coach who recruited you do, and that can change a lot whether or not you're playing. And yeah, so I mean,
Well, and it's not a business to sit for 18 at least for me.
Yep.
Now it's all business. Now
Right.
it's different.
Yep. Yeah.
But at that time, it wasn't a business decision. It was going from my Kalamazoo family,
Yep.
to my Michigan State family.
Right.
I went to the college because I had pride in that school.
Right.
I wanted to be a part of that legacy. I wanted to be a part of that.
Right.
Nick Saban happened to be the coach and made it a little better.
Right.
So that was great. But I mean, it's like all of a sudden one of your leaders leaves home. You're like,
Yep.
I thought this was us.
Yeah.
And then you realize while you're in it, you realize, man, I got my teammates. These are my teammates.
Right.
And it's about my teammates.
Yep.
And then, Coach Williams came in next. So it was still somebody. And Coach Williams was Tico, my brother's running back coach.
Oh, I didn't know that.
There was a connection even there that was even deeper. So, I mean, I love Nick Saban. It was great. But Coach Williams, that's my coach now.
That's your guy now.
That helped heal that wound.
Right. And I was going to say, it seemed like you kind of landed into a good situation where the coach, the incoming coach, already had some familiarity with you as opposed to somebody who he coached your brother. I'm pretty sure he met you growing up as you were over there, coming up to campus with your brother. So it wasn't like a big change as opposed to somebody brand new coming in who, again, maybe didn't have any ties to you or any exactly. It was like, okay, we're going to try to play our guy. So I guess when you're at Michigan State at this point, like your freshman year, I could tell you when I was at Michigan State, and Brandon could tell you, man, those first few months or whatever was rough, trying to get adjusted to that college game and just the speed and everything like that. How was it like your freshman year? Because I mean, again, you're doing well, it seems like, from off the bat. So I guess how was that experience from your perspective? Your early years at Michigan State.
Man, it was hard. What you mean? I mean, it was hard. I mean, I went from high school being the man, doing what I wanted to do on the football field.
Yep.
To now, I'm getting tossed around.
Yeah.
I mean, these are men. Like, I mean, they've been playing for a while. I mean, I came in. I was recruited as a linebacker.
And really?
I got Julian Peterson playing in front of me. So it's like, this ain't the same football, and I'm playing the Sam. So now I'm wrestling with tight ends and tackles, and they all 600 or 6'3", 300 something, and they've had the off-season program.
Programs, that's like another lineman at that point.
I'm coming in with a target on my back, like I'm the number one recruit. Let's see how he can do.
Hold on. So I always thought that you were recruited as a running back. So you were recruited as a linebacker?
I was the number one linebacker in the country. I played quarterback in high school.
Right. And I saw that when I was kind of doing the research. I saw that it seemed like you played everything: quarterback, linebacker, running back, everything at Kalamazoo.
And one of the other reasons why I came to Michigan State was they were going to allow me a chance to play both ways. Oh. And so Charles Woodson at the school down the road was doing both ways. He was full-time defense, but they throw him in on offense, especially they give him the rock a little bit here and there.
Right.
And so it wasn't abnormal to see now.
Yeah.
And at the same time, Ron Dane's running crazy in the Big Ten.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, it's like, okay, I'm the linebacker, but third and short, goal line. Can I get an opportunity? Oh yeah, okay. And as the season went on, I mean, Julian Peterson, one of the best to ever do it, he ain't coming off the field.
Right.
So I'm not even on the field. So now it's like, how can we find a way for this guy to get on the field? And that goes from third and short goal line to now 1st and 10. Oh. I mean, I didn't really learn how to play running back till I got dang near in the NFL.
Really? So, and I look at Julian Peterson. He's a great guy. I remember when I was at Michigan State, he came in. He was talking to us before one of the games, and he pretty much, man, he a wired guy. He like, hey, y'all go out and take care of business, and we gonna have fun later on after the game.
Yeah.
And he was a great player because he played for the Lions, right?
I don't know he played for the Lions. I know he played for San Francisco. I played with him out in Seattle.
Okay.
But I'm not sure where else he played though. I don't remember. But I mean, I know he's a monster.
Yeah, because I don't know why I thought he played with the Lions. He had a stint with the Lions. So he was pretty much. So did you play at all at linebacker your freshman year? Or
like when we blew somebody out.
Okay, gotcha. But it seemed like you started to get a lot more clock at running back as the
Oh
season
yeah.
progressed.
Oh yeah. As the season went progressed, I had more and more time on the field, and
Yep.
then that off season into going to spring ball, Coach Williams called me in the office and was like, I mean, I was as a freshman, I would start practice on defense, and then halfway through practice, I'm switching jerseys, running over to play offense. So I'm trying to learn 2 playbooks, and
that's tough at the collegiate level.
Oh
that's
my God, it was a lot. And then so that off season, Coach Williams asked me, what do you want to do, offense or defense? And I chose to do offense, and never look back.
Yeah, and then so the sophomore year, that's when you have a breakout year. You rush for over 1,000 yards.
Yeah, that's when I'm 100% only on offense, and I can actually learn now.
Right,
my head's not spinning.
Yeah. So at this point during your sophomore year, you got this breakout year. Does NFL ever crosses your mind, or is it just like, man, I'm battling with my brothers every Saturday. We're living in the moment.
I mean, it's always been the dream.
Got you.
I mean, it's even as a kid. I mean, it's a dream. I mean, I can barely run, but I'm pretending.
Right.
I'm 8 years old. I'm 10 years old. And I'm in the NFL pretending to be somebody.
Right.
So it was always a dream. It was just, that dream starts to get closer every time. I mean, now you end up being pretty good in high school. Okay. I start checking off the boxes of a resume that players that played in the NFL did.
Yeah. Okay.
And so now as a sophomore, man, I'm making plays on the big level.
Right.
Can I keep this up? Because if I can keep this up and keep improving, there's a chance.
I'm gonna have opportunity. And then your brother, he played in the NFL. So I'm not sure if he was still playing when you were in college. Or was he done at that point?
He was done by that point, yeah.
Okay. But again, it seemed like going back to what you said before in terms of just things being a reality because you were seeing somebody else do it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that kind of helped out. It's like, okay, I mean, I can do this. My older brother did it, and
I mean, when you see somebody, whether they look like you or they're in your family or you know them, when you see somebody achieving greatness, it makes it a little bit less far for you to achieve. I mean, it's like, wow. But again, you see what it takes to do this.
Yeah, you still got to put in the work.
I mean, if you just wake up and all of a sudden see Michael Jordan, you're like, man, he's amazing. He's he's special, which he is.
Yeah.
But if you see everything that it took, if you know the story and everything that it took for him to become that person,
right,
it makes sense. And I'm just talking like reading the book.
Yeah.
But if you actually can wake up next to this guy,
right,
and you actually, I mean, you see it on a regular basis,
right.
It's like, oh, okay. And then you're doing it. And then now you have a chance to make that decision. Like, okay, am I going to run today? Okay, am I going to rehab? Am I going to lift weights? Am I going to give up? Am I going to quit?
Yeah.
Like, you have all these choices to make. Same situation.
And I think more days than now, I mean, I think one of the biggest habits that I have or character traits is just being disciplined. Because like you said, just you have all these choices, especially now with social media and being able to do this thing and that thing and just still being disciplined and say, no, I'm going to go work out. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to make sure I'm taking care of what I need to take care of so that I can kind of maximize my opportunity at whatever, whether it's sports, whether it's professionally. I mean, it seems like, at least for me, I've been able to take advantage of just being disciplined, being able to do things when I don't have, when nobody else is going to do it or when I necessarily don't feel like doing it, but still being able to kind of put in the work and to do the things necessary to, I guess, have the results that I'm looking for.
Yeah, I mean, discipline is probably the biggest thing.
Yeah.
But to tie in with discipline is having a goal. Like you have to have a reason to stay disciplined. You can't just say be disciplined. Like for what? What I gotta be disciplined for?
That's good. That's good.
But if you actually got someplace to go, if you have a path, then there's a reason to be disciplined.
Gotcha.
And that was like, again, as a kid all the way up, I had a goal. And I could just, be disciplined and do what you need. Like I tell people, like being a professional athlete was easy. But the hardest part was the day-to-day, like being disciplined enough to go to practice. If you go to practice, if you follow the rules, if you just do what you're supposed to do, things should work.
Right.
But if you start to look left, look right, and not follow,
that's good.
Everything gets harder.
Yep.
And I know we'll probably get to it, but once I was done playing, I had no goals.
Right.
So I had no reason to be disciplined.
Got you.
So now it's like, what, and then the less disciplined you are, the bigger hole you're digging for yourself too.
That's good. That's good. So I got to ask you this. So because you said your mom was an educator for a long time, and I was having this conversation with one of my former teammates at Michigan State. He's a couple years younger. He played in the NFL, for a little bit, and coming into Michigan State. So my undergrad was mechanical engineering. I knew very early that okay, man, because again I played running back, just being a walk on there, prefer walk on, and I was playing. Devon Ringer he was a senior when I was a freshman, and then getting a chance to play with Larry Caper, Edwin Baker, Le'Veon Bell. I knew early on it was like, man, this, okay, this, let me just have fun and enjoy the moment because this life after football or, at the next level, that being professionally is probably not going to be it. But, at that point in time, I was always smart and my major was mechanical engineering. So I was, talking to a former teammate who played in the NFL and he wanted to do engineering coming in, but which is shocking. And I think this happens more than people realize. He was, I guess, not he was persuaded against it. They was like, nah, man, it's going to be tough to try to do engineering in football, and so they pretty much convinced him to do something else. So with you and coming from a background where you have a mom who's an educator, how was that decision in terms of what you were going to major in? Was it like all up to you as far as hey what you wanted to do, or was it some influence from your parents to say, hey, let's at least just in case this football thing doesn't work out, you can have a good fallback position. So because you see a lot of times the athletes, they're just kind of majoring in like the easy thing just to get by. So how was that process for you out of curiosity?
Yeah.
Especially with a mom being educated.
I was able to choose what I wanted to. My major was communications.
Okay. Okay.
And but at the same time, like, I had a goal.
Right.
There definitely, I wasn't like, if this don't work, I'm gonna do this. Nah, this is gonna work.
Right.
Like that was my mentality.
Okay, got you. So plan B was make sure plan A worked.
Exactly. Okay. Like, I had communications was my thing.
Right. Yeah.
I wanted to have a radio show. I wanted to talk. I wanted to do stuff in the media public space.
Yep.
But that wasn't, I never had a dream that I couldn't see that dream. That was just enough to fill out a paper.
Yeah. I got you.
When go to class and, go through the motions.
Right.
I wasn't like truly going to, no, this is now if thank God I didn't get injured or something happened,
right.
Then we would have had to reevaluate the situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
But in that moment, there was no plan A, no plan B. Like, this is what we're doing. And that being the case, that was the mentality. That was the work. That was the focus. That was,
yep.
And seeing that it was possible, I knew, like, seeing my brother do it, it's possible. Again, God, please don't let me get hurt.
That's
please keep me out of trouble.
Right.
All these things that could have tripped me up.
Yep.
Just please help me keep these objects out of my way. Like, keep me on this path. And so, and again, like all of these conversations that we're having now.
Yep.
Maybe if I would have had those conversations and actually whether took it more seriously or had a plan, I wouldn't have struggled so much post career.
Okay.
But at the same time, would I even had a post career?
Now, and that's interesting because I always tell people if I would have knew what I knew now, I still would have went to college just because I wanted to do the football thing. But I probably own like 10,000 units apartment complex just because that was always that was always at the back of my head, even as I was going through school and playing football of what I wanted to do. Then I was, did the engineering and then the law school afterwards. So I kind of more had a plan. So it wasn't like kind of just new to me having to figure things out. But just as I continued to get more off into the real estate, it was like, man, if I would have knew now what I knew back then, man, I would have just been so further ahead. I guess that's the whole hindsight.
What I'll say, like I used to say it a lot too.
Yep.
But at the same time, one, I wouldn't be who I am now if all those things would have happened.
That's true. That's true.
Two, I know them now. Like, we'll do them now.
Yep.
I know them now. Like, I wish I would have done it. Okay, well, you got a new goal now.
Yep.
You have a new thing you're trying to do. Do that stuff now. You know it.
That's
so
true.
life isn't over. Like, that's a different time, a different cycle.
Yep.
But that's also created this space. Like, if I had done all of those things that I said I would have wanted to do, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
Got you. Right. No, that's true.
I wouldn't have truthfully, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to explore who I am and become my fullest potential of where I'm at now because of those things, those decisions.
Yep. No, that's true. That's very true. So then you get to a point where, and you're going first round in a draft. You number 18 to the Atlanta Falcons, and again, as a running back, you know it, especially these days, and I'm pretty sure it was maybe a similar thing back then, where running backs typically don't get taken in a first round unless they're like they're one of the best. So I guess how was that process? You talk a little bit about that in terms of leading up to the draft, declaring for the draft your junior year, leading up to it, getting drafted by the Falcons. Again, like I said, growing up, I was like in middle school, high school at this time in 2001. Yeah. And again, I remember those work done TJ Duckett days, those Michael Vick days in Atlanta. So can you talk a little bit about that? At that stage in your life?
In my mind, I was the best. I mean, in my mind, I earned that thought.
Right.
And it wasn't. I look at my back then. You look at your stats, look at where you rank, you look at your ability, and I mean, God, please keep obstacles out of my path.
Yep. That's a big part of it. Yep.
I mean, it's the only part of it. Yep. I mean, it's the part of it. Yep. And go to work. Just go to work, and you go to work, and then you look up, and you're 260, and you run a 4.37, and you're like hungry at this thing. I mean, I put myself in an opportunity, a space to get an opportunity.
Hold on, did you run a 4.3 at 260?
4.37, baby. Clock it. Set go.
Was this at the combine?
Huh?
That was at the combine?
No, pro day. Pro day. I didn't run at the combine.
Crazy.
Huh?
That's crazy.
Yeah. But I mean, that was the work. Yeah. I believe that.
Yeah.
I mean, in high school, I ran a 10-600. So I mean, I was on the state championship 4x1 team. Yeah. So I mean, I had some credentials.
Right. No, for sure.
So yeah, it was just now, again, I did my part. I did the best I possibly could do.
Yeah.
I put in a higher power, and hopefully I get an opportunity.
Right.
Now, I mean, I was a different type of running back. So did I dream of being a first round draft choice? Yes. In 5th grade, I wrote down.
Really?
I wrote, and I got that paper too. But in 5th grade, I wrote in the 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003 draft. Like I wrote all those 3, 4, 5 years. So I didn't know.
Yeah.
I knew. I wrote all of them, and I wrote my name. I had a blank, and selected by had a blank. I mean, that was the goal.
Right.
And as time came, I got closer. But on draft day, it's just it's business now.
Right.
It's business. And on draft day, you see some teams like you might go, you have some great interviews.
Yep.
And they pick somebody else. And in my mind, which is crazy, but if I didn't go first round, I felt like I failed.
Really?
So yeah. That was the goal. I left school to do this.
Oh no, yeah. Especially if you're leaving school early
just to get drafted.
Yeah, you're pretty much guaranteed. You're thinking you're going to go first round if you leave school early. And I was actually reading something that you thought you were going to go 16th. I forget who the team was, but they drafted another running back. Yeah, Cleveland, that's what it was. And they drafted another running back. You go sit in your car and you're like, yeah. So then, I guess.
So Cleveland's on the clock, and I'm like, okay, Cleveland on the. I mean, all the teams ahead of me, I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna go there. Right. Like either they got somebody or they're not. I'm not that. I don't work there.
Right.
And then I started, around that 10, 11, 12, 13 slot. I'm like, okay, I talked to these teams, opportunities coming.
Right.
And then they chose it, and then like Cleveland was like the spot. And I'm like, okay. And then they took a running back, not just another player, but not another position.
Yeah.
They actually took a running back. And I'm like, what did I do? Like, because after that, I mean, I didn't see nothing else after that. I'm like, like I said, if I would have went second round, which is crazy. If I
you weren't expected.
I would have felt like a failure.
Yeah. No, I mean, I get that. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's wild to think when you look at the numbers and everything, hindsight. But at that moment, so Cleveland picked a different guy. and I'm having this draft party. There's a restaurant called Trippers here in town at the time. I don't know if you remember that.
Yep, I remember.
But I had a draft party at Trippers, and I go in my car. I leave. I just go in my car. I'm sitting in my car like, man, I'm talking to myself like, what am I doing? Why did I do this?
Right.
My phone's been ringing all day. Just family and friends. Just they picked you yet? And I'm like, man, would you stop calling me?
That's that's just making the pressure more on you.
Oh, but my phone ring. Every time my phone ring, I'm like, oh man, what you talking about, man? And then finally, there was this like 770 number call.
Okay.
And I wasn't gonna answer it. And I was like, let me answer this phone, man. Hello? Yeah, this was on Atlanta Falcons. What? Yeah. And it was I want to say it was Coach Reeves.
Okay, Dan Reeves.
And it was like it was either Coach Reeves or Ollie Wilson, the running back coach. And they were like, so what you think about being an Atlanta Falcon? And I said, man, I would love it. And they were like, okay, well, hold on. We're trying to figure it out right now.
So it's like they teasing you at that point.
Put me on hold.
That's
came back. Hey, I think that's when Coach Reeves got him. Hey, we decided to select you, and we're gonna, the commissioner's gonna read your name off in a minute. Just go ahead and have some fun, hang out, and we'll see you tomorrow. I flew down there the next day.
Okay.
And so my spirits were low, and I get out my car, walk back in the building, and my agent sees me, and he like looked at me, kind of looked at him, and he was like, yeah, and I was like, and so I kind of like slid off in the back, like, I know it's gonna come up.
Right. So they don't know.
Nobody knows.
Okay.
So I like slide back in. I'm just like in the back of the room, like, okay, and the commissioner get up there with the 18th pick, and then they show my little picture. The room go crazy, and I'm like, yeah, like. We started playing music. We ain't watched no more of the draft. That was over. Started playing music. I mean, and that was an amazing special moment.
Man,
but it was a heck of a time, man.
So then, but it's still an interesting thing because, like you said, you didn't think that they were going to select you because they took work done in free agency.
Yeah, they already had a running back. Like,
so I guess going into that, and now it seems like these days is more, I guess, accepted having that 1-2 punch like that. And I'm not sure if that was a big thing back in your days, but do you have some trepidation going to Atlanta knowing that, hey, man, they have another running back that they just brought in, and I'm assuming that they're going to expect to play? Or was it like, man, it don't matter. I'm gonna work my butt off to get on the field? How was
it didn't at that point, it really didn't matter. I mean, I didn't, and now it's business now.
Yep.
So it really didn't matter, but I still wanted to be a good teammate.
Got you.
So that's work done. Like, I knew who he was. Like, he's already been in the league, 7-8 years, signed a huge contract. So I mean, they got Vic now. Like, I know what we're getting into.
Right.
But on the conversation, when I was having with them, I mean, you guys are completely different. You got two different kind of running backs.
No, and that was true. Yep.
And then in this league, we need to have at least two different kinds. A long season, you'll do more of this, he'll do more of that. We'll utilize everybody, and everyone to have a role.
Yep.
I mean, that's where the blessing in disguise is. Because again, I'm learning the position still.
Yep.
And to have a guy like Warwick Dunn teaching me the position, I mean, he wasn't cutthroat. He wasn't trying to take my job. He wasn't trying to make me fail. He was actually helping me. I mean, and that's kind of rare in that space. Like, we competed for the same job, and you helping me.
Yep.
Like, that's rare. Now, if I would have went to Cleveland, I would have been the running back.
Got you.
And it would have been a different life, a different situation. Like, they would have expected me, and maybe that's why they didn't pick me. You know what I mean? Like, and they would have expected a different thing. And I actually had a chance to like learn the position, learn what it meant to be a professional. I mean, he's one of the biggest reasons why I understood what it meant to give back on and off the field, and how to carry yourself off the field. I mean, sitting next to him in the meeting rooms was amazing.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was my mentality going down there.
So then how is it? And again, Warwick Dunn, just from the things that I read about him in terms of what he's doing with building houses for women that have kids and things like that, man. So I mean, the things that you're saying as far as that's who he is, just from what I've seen from afar, it seems like that's, man, I definitely wouldn't have expect anything different in terms of him helping you out and kind of going about things the way he did. So then I guess how was, because now you guys are like a three-headed monster, because this one Vic is, at his peak, running
Yeah.
the ball like crazy. He still had an arm as a lefty, which people don't give him a lot of credit for. But like, how was that experience with Vic, playing with Vic, and just the interactions with all three of you
I
guys,
mean,
especially
it's
running the ball?
amazing, man. It was amazing. I
Yeah,
mean, it was it was exactly where I needed
yeah,
to be. Excuse me. I mean, Warwick had lost his mom at a time in his
yeah,
life. I
yeah,
had lost my mom a few
yeah,
years before that. So we had some, again, it was bigger than football for me to go
yes,
there.
yeah,
I mean, I could have, being 21 in the city of Atlanta
yeah,
during
no.
that time. I mean, there was just so many things that,
Going
I
on.
mean, I was a kid in the dream,
Yep,
living the dream. Like it
yep,
was amazing.
yeah,
I mean, just that city. I mean, I could have been, again. There's 32 other places that I could have been,
right. Yep,
and that to be a young kid in that city, but also to have the mentors I had there to keep me,
yep,
somewhat in a good space.
that,
It
yeah.
was a perfect storm for me, man. It was,
Seems like you got dropped in a perfect spot for
yeah,
sure.
it was perfect. It was
Yep.
perfect.
Yep. So then it seems like now you're playing, everything is going good. I think if I'm not mistaken, your first year you had what, around 800 yards rushing. So like, you're on the field, you're doing things, and things are going good as you said. But then you have like your first, you know, I guess, getting to the point where your time in Atlanta is coming to an end.
Yes.
You're about to go somewhere else. How was that moment? Because that seems like, at least from my perspective, it seems like that can be a real first obstacle, or just these adverse moments that you have to overcome.
That's when I realized the business.
Yeah, yeah,
Like that's when like everything, like my eyes got wide open. I mean, I was heartbroken. I mean,
yeah,
you go from, you're playing from a football space, you're playing on your Rocket Pee Wee team. That's a
yep,
family. It's amazing.
yep,
It's neighborhood.
yep,
You go
yep,
to your middle school, your high school, family, neighborhood. You go to your college, even. That's family.
yep.
Now you get to the league, and
Business.
it's cool for a minute, but then you start to like hear some rumbling. People, I mean, that first time I read, like, oh, to get this guy out of here, why we draft this guy? I'm like, damn. Like that. I mean, you start to read this stuff, and I
Yeah,
mean, if I get it, but at the time, I had never saw that before,
right. And
and
you're still
so
a young kid, a young
I
man
mean,
growing up. You're early 20s at this point.
but they don't. I didn't see those in college.
Yeah,
People might have said it, but
but
I
you
ain't
didn't
see
see it.
it.
Yeah,
I didn't hear that in high school. People might have
right,
said it, but I didn't hear it. But now you are on a pedestal. You are on a huge stage. So
right,
now it might, whether it's Sports Center, whether it's First Take, whatever it is, they're now actually talking about you,
right.
and it's not just because you scored a touchdown. And then it's like, well, they need to get him out of there and bring in so and so to do this and do that. And I'm like, dang, I thought y'all loved me. I thought
Right.
we had something, And then you like, okay, you get shipped, you get traded somewhere.
Right.
And now you're like, okay, this is a business after
Yeah,
all.
this is a business.
And
Yep.
so now while you're in it, you got to start to understand what that means.
Yep.
And, in Washington, Ernest Biner was my running back coach. And Joe Gibbs was the head coach.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
mean, for me, that was another perfect scenario for me.
Okay.
My brother played for Washington.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Ernest Biner was the running back when he was at Washington.
Really?
I met Ernest Biner when I was a kid, and I went
Yeah.
to go visit my brother.
That's crazy.
Joe Gibbs was the head coach when Tico was there.
Yep.
So, I mean, I go from Atlanta thinking they love me to now I'm like in this space, like, man, what, I don't know.
Right.
And then Coach Biner come in and just like, put his wings around me and re-schools me into, now this is the business.
Right.
This is how you practice. This is what you do. These are the things this is how you play the game at a high elite level and become a professional when it's a business now.
Got you.
And so that, like, I needed that. I mean, I needed to see that. I needed to have that. And, from there, then it's okay, we're going to work now. It's work.
Yep. Let's go to work. Yep.
Every day you go to work.
So then, because you talked about just being drafted, if you would have went in the second round, you would have felt like a failure. So as your welcome to the NFL moment, it seems like being traded to Washington and really understanding that this is a business, did you like still feel the love at that point for the game to the point? Because it seemed like it seems like it can go either way as far as, okay, I got traded. It's a business. We're going to go put our best foot forward and try to earn a job, or it can go left and say, I'm just kind of going into it half-heartedly. I'm kind of starting to lose my love for the game just based on this stuff happening, which you're finding out from a business standpoint.
Yeah.
So did you, I guess, which approach did you take going into Washington?
So with Washington, that was more of now I got to prove myself.
Right.
Like it wasn't, I hadn't lost the love yet. That's coming.
Yeah. Okay.
But going to Washington, it was like, man, I felt like I let people down.
Yep.
I felt like I let the city of Atlanta down. Like I was like, I need to go. I need to establish that I can still play this game. Like I still loved it. It was still fun, but they traded. If they traded you, something wasn't working.
Right.
Otherwise, they would have kept you.
Yeah, for sure. So
I felt like I need to reestablish that I can still play this game.
Right.
And not necessarily for others, not for the fans and for people, the critics, but for myself. Just to make sure I can still do this. I'm 20 something, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like I'm really just getting started, actually. Yeah. So that was my just a maturing space. Now I'm growing into, I'm not this little college kid playing a dream anymore. Now I'm going to work, living the dream.
Yeah.
Now, what does it mean to be 3, 4, 5 years into the league? And what does that mean? How do you keep going and excelling in that space? And I didn't know what that meant at that time.
Okay. So then you have a short stint in Washington. And again, just from me looking from afar, you said at that point in time, the love for the game wasn't, it wasn't it wasn't all the way gone yet, or you hadn't lost it. Yeah. But it seems like now you are, separate from Washington. And I think you went to Detroit at that point, right?
I think so, yes. I went to Detroit, yes.
So, and it seems like just, the first time, this is an eye-opener, but we're still going to try to take this business-like approach to things. Haven't lost the love for the game yet. But then going to Detroit, man, it seems like for me looking in, that seems like it would have been I'm going to the team that I grew up watching, so I'm excited in that way. But did you have that feeling of, Washington didn't want me, so this is the second team in so many years, or however many years that just kind of wanted to part ways with me? How because mentally are you kind of dealing with that now?
So at that point, when I went to Washington, I only had 1 year on the contract at that time.
Okay.
So again, now I'm into the business. I understand the business.
Got you.
And I had 1 year in the contract. They already had a room full of running backs there already. Okay. They had Clinton Portis, they had Liddell Betts, they had Rock Cartwright. And they've all had been there for.
Why do you think they traded you to a team that was loaded at running back?
Well, at that time, Clinton Portis, he had got hurt a couple of times.
Okay, got you.
So I was more of the safety valve.
Got you.
It seemed like every injury he had, he played through everything. So I didn't really have a chance anyway. Yeah. But it was just in case. Just in case something happened to this guy, we at least got this guy.
Right.
So I kind of saw that. But like each place, looking back at it, was what I needed.
Yeah.
That was no different to me than being a freshman in high school, breaking my leg, to now I have a chance to redesign who I am.
Yep.
And they don't expect me to carry the ball 30, 40 times a game. Like some games I didn't even dress. But I learned again, I had to get in shape. Like, what does it mean to be in actual, ready to go shape?
Yep.
And I really learned how to watch film.
Yep.
And I got a perspective of being a professional running back,
right,
from a coach that was a great professional running back.
Gotcha.
I got to see how he approached the game, which I didn't think like that. It was different. So that was a good way for me just to gather myself, to really get my feet back under me and just get myself together. And then to have the opportunity to go to Detroit, playing in Atlanta and DC for that matter, my family and friends really didn't have the opportunity to do nothing.
Right.
Now I'm in Detroit. I have an idea how to practice.
Yep.
I'm somewhat of a seasoned vet. I've been around for a while.
Right.
Come into the locker room, family. Come to the games. Y'all be a part of this experience with me. Like so that was amazing to be able to share actually what I did with my family, friends. People could come from Kalamazoo, Lansing. I could go to Kalamazoo and Lansing, you know. I was able to actually live a full experience. I thought I was going to be there for a while.
So the expectation going to Detroit was like, no, we're going to play. Unlike maybe Washington, where it was like, okay, the just in case guy. When you arrive in Detroit, the expectation was, okay, we about to play.
I'm gonna get off. I'm gonna play. I'm gonna do my thing. It's hometown. I mean, now, not only am I on the team, but like you said, I grew up watching this team. So I you know, in the back of my mind, this is like this is my team too.
Yeah, for sure.
So you know, get there, and I feel like I'm doing great. I'm thinking everything's gonna be good, but you know, it don't happen. And so then I get another free agent, and I get to go out to Seattle, which again was, each spot was great because after being in Detroit for a year, too many people were around. Too many people had access. I'm like, man, I need to get up out of here. This is too much. Like, I can't stay focused. Like, it's a lot going on.
But you still hadn't lost your love for the game.
No, I still loved it.
Okay.
And then so finally, then I go out to Seattle. And I'm on all the way on the left coast, like all the way.
Yeah, for sure.
And that was another great experience because now I feel like I'm actually in a professional space now.
Okay.
Where it's not hometown. I know the business. I know how to be a pro. I'm getting in there early. I'm staying after. I'm watching film. I'm doing what pros do. And you know, at that time, Jim Mora ended up becoming the head coach there. So he was also the head coach I had in Atlanta.
I remember him.
So I'm like, okay, the same offensive coordinator. Like I know these folks. Like I know the plays. I know what we're doing.
Was your relationship with Jim cool?
Huh?
Was your relationship with Jim solid?
It was all right. Yeah, it was cool. You know. But you know, being there for that year, I felt like I was in the best shape of my life. Like I was 1,000%. I felt ready to go. And then I got cut out there. Like I got cut.
Was that surprising to you, or?
Yeah, it was surprising. That was when all the air out my sails happened. I was about my seventh year, and I got cut by the same person twice. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, wow. You know, by that time, like I said, it's my seventh, I think going into my eighth. It was going into my 8th year. So I had friends and teammates who, you know, maybe only got 1 or 2 years in. Now they're like on the practice squad every year, or they're just working out every summer, hoping for a spot. And I told myself when I started to get in that space, I think I'm probably gonna be done.
So because they talk about, and you hear all the time, as far as making it to that second contract in the NFL. So at this point in time, when you're in Seattle, were you on the second contract, or were you like essentially signing 1-year deals after your rookie contract?
I was signing 1-year deals at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, and the thing is, if I would have made that Seattle team, that would have been the second contract.
Got you.
And I got cut. You know, preseason's 4 weeks. I got cut at the end of the 3rd week.
Oh,
so
wow.
all I had to do was make the team 1 more week, and I'd have been on that second contract, and I would have been rolled.
Yeah.
You know, but I was a week away from that. Can you believe that? So that's where I'm like, I've been here, I've been there. By then, I've traveled. I didn't buy houses by that point. I'm renting places. I'm just moving all over the country. And you know that the love of the game that started to deteriorate for me. And finally, at that point, I was just like, you know, I think this is it. I think I'm done.
So did you have, because, you know, a lot of times, you know, you get cut or whatever, and especially in preseason, another team, you know, they may wait, you know, to see where their needs are at the end of the preseason to pick up a back or just pick up another player, or it's still opportunities because it's early on, especially early on in the season. So it's still opportunities. Were there opportunities for you to go to other teams?
Yes.
You just was like, I'm done.
Yes, there was opportunities. I went and I worked out for another team. And like I said, this was going into my 8th year. So I only got 7 full years. So I'm going into my 8th year, and you know, like I want to say Tuesday is the off day. So Tuesday is the day they usually bring players in to work out. And like I said, I'm in my 7th year, 8th year. I've already played, and I felt like I did pretty well. And I'm out here running the 40 again. I'm out here doing all these drills again. One of the guys that I'm competing with asking me for my autograph.
Really?
And I'm like, you asked me, and I got to run like they trying to figure out if I can play. Like I don't have 7 years of footage.
Right. That's crazy.
And
That's like a slap in the face.
Well, I mean that's, you know, some people need it, and that's what they need to keep going. I wasn't that point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Gotcha.
Like I'm not saying that I should have just walked in and got the opportunity.
Right.
But I wasn't ready to start all over at the bottom. Like,
Got you. Not that, especially not going into the 8th year.
I mean, I just wasn't ready for that. And when I realized that so this is what I'm doing. Like, is this something to be flying to these teams on Tuesdays, running 40s and running routes and running different footwork drills? I don't know if I want to do that. Right. And that's when, you know, the story I have is I got a lake house, and so I went to my lake house, and I just was trying to get away, and I'm at my lake house, and I tell myself, I say, man, if either Detroit or Chicago call me, them the only 2 teams I'm gonna go for.
Got you.
And that's it.
Just because it was close.
Just because it's close. I mean, I got family in Chicago, and you know, it's just close. I ain't got to move all over, and it's close. And the very next day, Detroit called me. Very next day.
Really?
And I'm like, man, I'm fired up. Like, okay.
Yeah. And
then I go in this bathroom because I'm, you know, thinking about what I'm gonna do. And I look in the mirror, and I'm like, man, play football for Detroit. And I didn't have that electric shock. Like, I didn't have that energy. I was like kind of flat. But then I was like, man, or you could just, you know, you could stay here and you know, figure out what's next.
Right.
Man, this big old smile came on my face. I'm like that was the first time I ever heard my body talk, and I was kind of listening. And I'm like, man,
that's crazy.
Then I said, I looked in the mirror, I said, play for Detroit. All the energy just drained. Then I'm like, you know, next chapter, figure it out. Man, that could be some fun there, man. Yeah. And you know, I did that a couple times. And then I called my agent. I was like, man, JS, I think I'm done, man. He was like, what? Are you what? I was like, I think I am done. I'll never forget that phone call. I was like, I think I'm done. And he was like, are you sure? I said, I think I'm sure, man. I think I'm done.
Yeah.
And then he said, all right, I'll let him know. And I hung up the phone. I was like, man, I'm done playing football. Like, I'm done. Like that moment, that realization of this 8-year-old kid had this dream and all this adversity in life, all these things that I've gone through to reach this dream. And here I am waking up now from it. Like, I'm giving it up. That's
a tough one, because you see the opposite end a lot of times where the players, they essentially try to keep going until they don't have any more opportunity,
until their legs fall off, until they crawling back.
So the team essentially kicking them out at that point, like, and now you see them out in like the CFL or something like that trying to get back in.
So I mean, that was when one book closes, when one door closes, another one opens. And when that second one opened, all I saw was darkness, because I didn't know what was behind that thing.
Right.
I just walked in like, let's go. Let's just walk in the dark and see what happens.
So, and then going back to something you said earlier, was that because you talked about, you know, we talked about being disciplined, but having a goal attached to it. You, at that point, did you just not have any goals? So even though you were disciplined, things like that, you just had no goals. You were just.
I was free, baby. Yeah. I was like, I ain't got no coaches calling me.
Right.
I ain't got nowhere to be.
Yep.
I don't have this NFL shield on my head.
Yep.
Like, I don't have no attachments to nobody for nothing.
Right.
And I never felt that. I mean, I had no dreams. I had no goals.
Right.
I had no nothing to do to fall back on, like we talked about before.
Yep.
But I was just like, man. And I was 29 at the time, 28, 29.
So yeah,
that's 20 years, 20 years of dreaming.
Yeah.
And doing. And then it's just like, man, I can actually breathe.
Right.
So I started hanging out. You know, I was just like, let me party. Let me enjoy what I just did.
Right.
That's what I did for that next couple of years.
So for the next couple of years, you're just partying, hanging out.
I mean, I'm finding myself, you know.
Right,
I'm trying to figure
but
out
no real, like,
okay, at that time. At that time, my brother, he had already started the janitorial company, Duckett Brothers. So, I mean, my initial plan was I already got a job. Like, I can just do this. I can roll right into this. And I'm, you know, so I wasn't like all the way empty. I had something to do.
Right.
But at the same time, as I was doing that, I'm like, man, this is what people do. Like, you know, I'm like, I don't know if I want to go to work like this. So that put me, so at that moment, now I'm like, did I make a bad decision?
Right. Okay. Now you second guess.
Now I'm questioning, like, man, I could, and I'm watching, I'm better than this guy. I'm like, I'm questioning, and I'm still fit. Like, I'm still ready to go.
Right.
And I mean, just a couple months ago, I mean, I was on a team. Like, I was playing.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it was like years I went past.
Right.
But I'm just like, you know, I'm missing the spotlight. I'm missing the locker room.
Yep.
I'm missing the money. You know what I mean? I'm missing all these things that I took for granted. That was part of the lifestyle. And now it's like, okay, that's when I slowly fell into a depression.
Gotcha.
Like, I slowly was in that dark black hole, black space, and I just was in there.
Where do you think that came from, though? Because it seems like I don't, because you had the opportunity to, you know, kind of make it right with, going to Detroit, but it seems like you was like, okay, let me do this life after football thing, and so it was kind of more so your decision at that point, as opposed to the NFL saying, no, we no longer want you.
Yeah.
So I guess, was it any one particular thing that it was like that kind of made things spiral, or was it just kind of over time, just not knowing what was next and not really having any goals that kind of led to
all of the above?
Okay.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, I was tired.
Yeah.
Really, I was just tired. Like, it was, my body was tired. I was tired. It was mentally draining. It was just a lot.
Right.
And you know, I had a thought of what life would be like after. Right. And it wasn't what I thought. It was a little bit different. Gotcha. The vision wasn't the same.
Right. Right.
And so then you look at, like, I mean, now I call it the mortal world. Yeah. Now I'm in the mortal world now. Like, this is what y'all do Monday through Monday. Like, and then to think, like, you know what I was just doing last week? I was just in this $50 million facility. Yeah. You know, I was whatever, you know, all the things that come with it. And now I'm like here. Right. Like, what is that?
What's going on?
And so, I mean, I just, you know, I mean, again, I probably wasn't in a great situation. Yep. But my mind wasn't right. My heart I wasn't connected. You know, I didn't have that goal. Like, so what am I going to do this for the next 10 years, 15 years? You know, and that's where, like I said, that's where everything just kind of stopped. And now that's that moment. Like, okay, now what you going to do? Yeah. That's the moment of truth. Like, what are you going to do?
Right. So did you, like, cause you hear a lot about just the NFL, as you kind of, the days are over with, and maybe former NFL players overspending at that point. So now it's like tight on money. Like, were you like saving your money, or like doing right by your money at that point?
Yeah,
or?
I did. Yeah, I wasn't doing nothing crazy. I mean, I was living in East Lansing, it's a college town, so you really can't go too crazy. Like, if I was in like a major city, I might
like LA or something. It would have been a little tougher.
But I mean, I'm in a college town. I ain't doing nothing. I'm not going, you know, crazy. And even then in my career, I mean, I had fun, but I ain't do nothing. I still got a good background.
Yeah, no,
you know,
yeah,
I still got a decent support system, you know, but I personally didn't have any type of self-worth, like, personally. Yeah. Like, all my value came in walking into a space and, like, so, that's TJ. Oh, he played for somebody. Yeah. Oh, he, you know, yeah, baby. You know, my value came in what people saw of me. Right. And when I go in it's football season and I'm at a bar or at the mall and they're like, hey, why aren't you on the team? What happened?
No, that's true.
And it's like, dang, what did happen?
Right. Yeah.
You know, and I hated talking to people and saying I don't play football. They're like, why? What happened? Oh, that's too bad. I'm so sorry to hear that. You should still be out there. And I just kept hearing those type of words. And I'm like, man, it got to a point where I just was like, you know, I really don't even want to tell people where I'm at, what I'm doing. Like, because anybody else would be like, you're crazy. Why would you walk away from that?
Right.
And I'm like, but you ain't lived my life. You don't understand. But that I didn't take that in. I didn't have that type of self-esteem to think like really put myself first in that way. I was more concerned about if somebody sees me positively and what they thought of me. That ego.
Yep. No, and I was going to say, because it seems like the ego, and like you said, that's coming from you getting that validation from the outside world as opposed to having that confidence and just being content with yourself from internally and not caring what other people outside of you think based on what they're doing.
I mean, I used to be able to do the work to validate what was happening.
Yep.
Now I don't have any work.
Yep.
And nothing to validate.
Right.
And you go from actually being at the top.
Yeah.
To actually like, this work earned you this. So you got a different type of aura around you when you do something. To now, what you do now? Well, I don't know.
Trying to figure
good luck
it out.
with that.
Trying to figure it out. It seems like people there, you kind of they kind of care less as time goes past.
Oh, without a doubt. All of that bravado and all that ego.
Yep.
I mean, what you can't you ain't the person you were before. You don't have those credentials like you used to.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, that's that's a shallow way to think, but that's where my mind was. Like that's what I was on.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Huh. No, that's interesting. So then what was like the rock bottom point where you was like, okay, I gotta do something different because if I continue down this path, it's not gonna end well.
The rock bottom moment was I was partying one night and leaving Rick's.
Okay. How many years after that Detroit Lions car that you turned?
This is probably about maybe 2 years after, 2-3 years around there, somewhere 2011-ish. So 2010, 11, 12, somewhere in there. But I'm leaving. I just had a great time. Everybody at the bar had a great time. We had a blast. But I was struck. Like I had too much fun.
Yeah.
And I'm walking back to my condo. I had a condo on campus. And I'm walking back to my condo. And there was this park. And I sat on this park bench.
Okay. On campus.
Huh?
On campus.
On campus. Yeah, right by Showroom Shine. The car wash.
Yeah.
Crunchy's over there.
Yep.
And I'm sitting there on this park bench just trying to get my head right. Cause I just got to walk probably another, 200 yards. But I just need to sit down for a minute.
Right.
And I remember seeing this homeless person. And I'm looking at this homeless person. And like the police rode by and they saw me and they waved at me. I waved back. I know them. And they saw the homeless person, like almost hit the homeless person. I'm like that. Like they really ain't see him.
Right.
It's dark, And then the homeless person, then he kept walking, and I'm watching him for something. I'm just watching him, and I saw him. He like crossed the street, and I saw his face in the light, in the street light, and I saw my face on him. Like I'm like, again, like I said, I've been having a good time, but I saw my face on his face, and I'm like,
that's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like. And then you already know the stories.
Yeah.
You already know what people say about athletes.
Yep.
And I'm like, man, I had this amazing background. I have this amazing support system.
Right.
But I'm like, man, I'm out here. I'm out here. And in that moment, it was just like, this ain't you, bro. Like, this is not where you came from.
Right.
This is not your roots. Like, you out here wilding.
Yeah,
like,
you wilding out.
Doing? And I sobered up real quick in that moment. And I walked back home and I just remember like just sitting there like, what am I doing?
Right.
Like, really, what are you doing? And so that was the moment where I just had to really reel myself back in, sit down and have a conversation with myself and just be like, okay, so what are we going to do?
Right.
Another moment of truth.
Yep.
Like, what are we going to do? And how? And I didn't have any answers. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I mean, just because I had the success and earned some things doesn't mean I'm smart. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't mean I know the way. It means I found a lane and I stayed in it.
Right.
But now I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea. So that's when I really started to jump into my religion. I just was like, let me call on Jesus. I need some help because I do not understand what's going on. And ultimately that led me to a 40-day fast, but that also led me to, it's not about you, first of all, and it's not about the things you have. It's about what can you do for people, like for the love of people. Like,
Yeah.
how can you be an asset to the world?
Yep.
And that got me into just studying different religious figures. You know,
Okay. Yep.
Jesus, Buddha. You know, people that were here, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. You know, people who actually were just. I mean, I got a chance to just really dig all the way into my spirit and religion, and like people who were and weren't here. Mother Teresa. Like I'm like just like I was emulating Jerome Bettis,
Yep.
or just like I was emulating Walter Payton, Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
Now it's like, okay, let me emulate these religious folks now. Like they didn't care about money. The money had nothing to do with it. They didn't care nothing about the NFL
at all. Right.
You know, they had a different way of viewing the world. And so I started to try to do that. And like I said, that led me to my 40-day fast. And that's when things changed. I mean, I got into my nonprofit work. I got into just a whole new way of. I started going by Todd.
Yep.
I said, this life's over. Let's start over. Let's create a brand new person and see what happens.
So with the 40-day fast, was it just water for those 40 days?
Yeah.
Really? How was that? Because obviously you read it, you know, in a Bible, and you know, it still seems like, you know, pretty extreme. So I guess you haven't done that. I guess how was that? You know,
well, I mean, this
you know,
thing
God
though.
is,
This the thing. Like, it's very extreme. Like, I don't recommend it.
Yeah.
But if a coach or anybody would have said, "Go run through that brick wall over there. It's gonna make you great,"
you would have did it.
Okay. You know what I'm saying? I'm taking off and I'm running through the brick wall.
Yep.
No matter what it was, I'm doing the extreme things for this game anyway.
Right.
So now I got a whole new game I'm playing.
Yep.
And I got this extreme mentality of I'm committed. Let's go.
Let's go.
And as I started to learn more and more about these different religions and these different spiritual figures, fasting was huge in all of them. It's part, check off the resume.
Yep.
It's part of it. And so now it's like, okay, if I believe I'm going to be, or I want to be similar and try to help humanity similar to these same people who I've been reading and studying, this is what they did. Well, I guess I'm gonna die trying.
Yeah.
No different by playing football. And I mean, no different.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
that's true.
And the beauty is, you know, you don't know your path in it. But the beauty is, I had built this body. So when I hurt my leg in 8th grade, I put on like 70, 80 pounds. So I built this NFL body.
Yep.
When I went on this fast, I lost 70 or 80 pounds, that same weight.
Because you didn't need it anymore.
But I had that to eat away at my body. Like I
was built. So that helped out.
You see what I'm saying? I was like, to do it now might be kind of crazy.
It's tough, yeah, for sure.
But to be 260 pounds with just a muscle,
right?
And to say you can't eat for 40 days, you can drink water. So I mean, it was just eating away. Yep. So what it took me, you know, from 8 to 20 something to build was gone in 40 days.
Right.
So I didn't even look like myself. People didn't recognize me. I didn't recognize myself. So now I'm starting with a blank canvas.
Yep.
No different than when I went into the high school and said, okay, you want to be in the NFL? Okay, we'll build this person.
Yep.
And so now I go to this oh, you want to be somebody on this other level? Okay, let's take all this away because you don't need it. This ain't necessary.
Right.
If you can make it through this, you can build up whoever you want after this.
Got you. So then I completely agree with you when you're talking about servicing others. I think we're all put here on earth for our limited time period. We all owe God a duty to serve others in some capacity. And even when you're talking about from a resource standpoint, I think just going through life, you're going to get more out of life from a gratification standpoint, as well as just resources by helping others get what they want in some capacity. And that can also, I think, at least in my opinion, that's going to also help you kind of get what you want from that standpoint. But just from the gratification standpoint, just helping others, serving others in some capacity.
Well, if you look at it,
yep,
playing football was serving others.
That's true. That you got they got a chance to get away for the weekend, watching their favorite sports team, their favorite players, and that was your service. Yeah, exactly. And you're just getting paid a lot for it, but yeah, that's definitely a form of service.
It's the same thing. They go in and they get to have that NFL experience, high school experience, college experience. On the weekend with the family, they bring the kids. They get to have this amazing experience. And if we win and I get off, it's a beautiful week.
Right.
If we lose and I don't do well, everyone's sad. Everyone's. It's a tough.
That's true. That's true. That's
I was in the service industry anyway.
You
I just got paid for it in a different. It was a different type of service. You see what I'm saying?
For sure.
So now it's still the difference, but now it's I'm boots on the ground now. Like I'm actually here volunteering now. I'm actually having these one-on-one conversations. I'm actually shaking your hand rather than you in, section 255 and that's him down there.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. So what made you start up like the nonprofit New World Flood? Because seems like, if I'm not mistaken, around that 2011 time frame, again, you're volunteering, doing volunteer work, and as opposed to just continuing to do volunteer work, what made you say, okay, this has gotten to the point where this is so important to me that I'm going to start a nonprofit?
Well, that's it. I mean, I was volunteering again. I didn't know a lot about it. My family has always been full of service forever.
Got you.
Always, we've always helped.
Okay.
That's my mom's side, my dad's side. That's what we're about, really.
Especially
with both my parents being educators. I mean, that's what we do. But I didn't like intentionally understand it until then, where I was actually not just, hey, this is what we're doing. Instead, like, we're creating these events.
Right.
So I was volunteering with a bunch of different organizations. So I got a chance to learn what's going on. Some things I liked, some things I didn't.
Yeah.
And I finally was like, why don't you start it? Why don't you try it? Why don't you do your own? That way now, you don't just have to show up at an event and do what they tell you. You can actually choose where you want to help and volunteer and give and serve and have some real laser focus on certain groups, certain people, and things you want to do. And so that's when it all kind of made sense.
Huh. Wow. And
I can tell you, so what first it was called, the first organization we had was called Lunch with a Purpose. And what we did was every Thursday at around from 12 to 1, we would just either go to a different nonprofit or we would set up something. And we must have did that for almost a year, 2 years straight. Like every Thursday, it was like 80 something in a row.
Wow.
That we did. And that's where I got a chance to be around a lot of people in the community. So after that, it kind of fizzled out. People kind of stopped coming. So it was like, all right, well, let's now we know what we're doing.
Right.
Now let's create our own organization, New World Flood, flooding the world through giving and service, a single raindrop at a time. And that's when it changed.
Oh, so what is, like, I guess, what do you guys do as part of a New World Flood? I know you're saying you're giving a raindrop one. What type of events you guys put on? I know everybody, when you're talking about service, it seems like they have a particular niche. So what would be your niche as it relates to New World Flood?
So there's a couple areas that we always help in. Giving food. Providing food to the hungry, homeless, whatever. Either be able to give food is big for us. Being able to give time, volunteer hours. So a single raindrop is the beginning of a flood. So one person volunteering might bring 2 people, might bring 5 people, might bring 20 people. So if you got 30, 40 people showing up to work 1 hour, that's 30, 40 hours of work. And most nonprofits, especially the mom and pop nonprofits, I mean, they got jobs. So they're trying to do all type of things together. So if you can bring all these people resources to a nonprofit to help them, that's really gonna make a difference.
Right.
So that's where the whole single raindrop comes from. And the catalyst to that is the 1 second catch that I had against those guys down the road. I mean, 1 second can change your life.
Right.
And this is proof. Like, I mean, I'm a running back. And one of the biggest plays that I'm known for is a catch that I had.
Versus U of M to win the game.
I mean, I'm a running back. And in that same game, one of the best receivers ever, Charles Rogers, is on the field. Like, I mean, like, I'm a running back.
Right. Now so do you think that's like your biggest, or what people know you from in terms of like the biggest moment?
Yes.
That's crazy.
And so, I mean, that's where, like, now you fast forward into New World Flood, like, you never know when that 1 second is going to come up that you can make a difference in someone's life. You never know.
That's
But
true.
you're preparing for it. You just stay ready.
Yep, stay
But by
ready.
staying ready, you gotta have a heart that's willing. You gotta have a heart that's open regularly.
Yep.
And that's humbling. That's hard. It's hard for someone to think of somebody else, especially when they're in need and they're struggling and their cup's not full. And you want me to go pour my energy into you?
Yep.
But that's what it's about. So that's where the nonprofit comes in. So from feeding folks to doing back to school, backpack drives,
Got you. Yep.
to teaching people what does it mean to be a volunteer, to going to schools, going to organizations, and me speaking my story, helping inspire people to volunteer.
Yep.
I mean, it's a whole after the flood, it's brand new soil.
Yeah, no, for sure.
After we are involved with you in some way, shape, or form, you will be brand new, and it's going to be a new world for you to do whatever you want.
I like that. Yeah, it's a blank canvas you starting from.
Starting over, all the other stuff we washed out all the way. Let's start over, baby. We have a chance to do what we talked about earlier. If I would have thought about that back then, I would have. Okay, you can do that now.
Right.
Here are some tools. Here are some resources. Let's make it happen.
Got you. No, that's good. No, that's good. So then you're doing that, and that's more of a nonprofit. So I guess what's next? From the standpoint of, okay, like more of a for-profit thing, or like, hey, I got to be able to
make some money. I need to make some money now.
Yeah.
That's when I got. That's when I got in t-shirt printing.
Okay.
So I got in a t-shirt initially. Again, it was another service thing where it was called Simple T. Is what the first business was called. Simple T. We make shirts we give back.
Okay.
So on every single order that we had, we were giving back a portion of that money to something.
Okay.
Depending on what it was, we were giving it back.
To something.
So that was how that was a chance to make money.
Yep.
And still give back.
I got you.
And it's crazy, but the more you give, the more you receive.
Yep.
So there might be different fundraisers or outings that we would donate shirts to.
Right.
And then people at that event, at that outing, would end up coming to do business with us. Oh, y'all give the shirts? Yeah. Well, man, I got this going on. Would you? And we want to pay you. We don't want them free.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a chance. It didn't hurt at that time too for me to show up at some. So if we'll donate these shirts and I'll show up and I'll sign whatever you need me to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hang out. And I got a chance to talk and hear some stories and meet some business owners, meet some startups, and people needed shirts.
Got you. So what, like, because you think of a t-shirt printing company. At what point during that process that you think, man, like this can be something for real, not just something that we do on the side? And again, we're going to continue to give back.
It's
amazing. You're still giving back a part of the proceeds, but at what point it was like, man, this can be a real business, not just a side hobby.
I didn't realize that we wear clothes every day. I mean, think about how many clothes you got in your closet, how many t-shirts you got.
For sure.
I mean, everybody there's whether it's work, whether it's restaurants, whether it's kids going to college and you want to give them their first shirt in their dorm, like whether it's there's so like there are so many places that people do just clothing.
Right. No, that's true. That's
and I didn't realize that till all of a sudden, like everybody has this idea. Everyone has I need 100 shirts for my employees. I need every person who buys a new car gets a free t-shirt. Like, I mean, there's all these things that I didn't realize.
Right.
And for the most part, this was me by myself. So I didn't have a huge overhead.
Oh, so you were doing this by yourself at the beginning.
I'm printing the t-shirts. I'm taking the orders. I'm doing the artwork. I'm burning the screens. I'm ordering. I'm doing this. So I'm not paying other folks. When I first started the business, I was hiring somebody.
Okay.
But I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
So you can't throw money at someone and expect them to love the business as much as you do and want to be successful.
Right.
We're wasting product. I mean, so I had to then okay, I can't hire anyone. I need to learn how to run this.
Gotcha.
And once I learned how to run it, it was hard work.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, I'm the employee. So so therefore on a shirt, other than the cost for the shirt and some supplies, everything else is mine.
Gotcha.
I mean, you
So
start
you're
to get some
so you're
orders in a
printing them
week.
100 shirt orders yourself at that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. But I mean, that's especially when you're talking about, hey, having your own business, you got to go through those
That's
stages,
what you
especially at the
do.
beginning. Yep.
I mean, if you go and you want to buy, let's say a pizza parlor,
Yep.
you can't just hire some people to run it. You have to know how to flip them pizzas.
Yeah.
You have
Oh, you're
to
absolutely right
have
about
to
that.
love. I mean, I couldn't go and just hire someone to go run for me. I got to
Yep.
go run.
I got to go run.
I can't hire someone to go take these hits. I got to take these hits.
Yep.
Same
Yep.
situation here.
Yep.
And just because I had money and I'm able to hire and throw people in, it don't mean it that you're gonna lose money like
Yeah,
that.
you're gonna find out very quickly that you're wasting money.
Bingo.
So then at what point did you get the business to a point where it's like, okay, man, I'm doing things, obviously my time is stretched thin and I have enough of a understanding of how the business works to the point where I can hire someone. Was it based on what the company was generating from a revenue standpoint? Was it like the time just becoming thin?
It was based on now I'm starting to find myself.
Got you.
Now I'm starting to figure out what it is I want to do with my life. And printing t-shirts it's a means to an end.
Got you.
It's not my it's not my dream to own the biggest t-shirt printing company in the world.
Right.
I love doing it.
Yep.
I still do it to this day.
Okay.
But there are other things that I have goals.
Yep.
And, like 10 years have gone by now. It wasn't overnight.
Right.
Like now this is like 10 years have gone by of me building this business and running this business. And it's like, man, it's good, but this ain't it. Like, this isn't what I want to do.
Gotcha.
And so now it's like, okay, now I'm ready to start following this, chasing the dream now and rebuilding this dream. Gotcha. And now it's like, so how do I keep the business still running?
Yeah.
Because it is making money. I don't want to throw that away. Like, how do I do that? But now start to actually get back to my calling, what I'm about.
Okay. So, well, I guess from your standpoint, what's the process? Because I've had a number of businesses and still have businesses where, at some point you're like, hey, I want to do something different. So, and this is maybe taking up a lot more time than I wanted to take up. So I'm gonna just sell it. So I guess when you're kind of going through your calculus, why keep one or hold on to the business as opposed to sell it, especially if it's making money and being able to kind of,
because I still like it. I still like it.
Got you. I got you. You just have other things that, from a goal standpoint that you wanted to do that you.
Yeah.
Got you.
And with t-shirt printing.
Yep.
I mean, I can get help too. You know what I'm saying? I got help.
Yeah.
Now that I know what I'm doing, now that I have an idea how it works, I got help, whether it's hiring someone to come help me, whether it's outsourcing some work for me.
That's true.
I mean, I got help.
Yeah.
I don't have to just be the one. Like before, I felt like I had to be the one printing to prove to you that I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. So you're not going to get over on me.
Yeah. But then it's like, I know exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I can hire this person or I can have this other company help me.
So I got to ask you this question. And I mean, obviously you don't have to answer it, but like from a revenue generating standpoint, like just on a good year, what will be the revenue generated from like your t-shirt printing business? Because you think of it and you say, okay, somebody's looking to go into something similar. Obviously, we don't want to add competition or whatever the case may be. But from like somebody like thinking about like a t-shirt printing company.
Put it this way. If you get it and you understand it and you're doing it right, that's all you can. I mean, if you can find specific, like one customer can buy 5,000 shirts from you.
Okay.
One customer.
Yeah.
So imagine if you had 10.
Right.
5,000 shirts. Imagine one customer can get 1,000 shirts.
Right.
One event can be 500 shirts.
Yep.
So I mean, if you're out there hustling, you're doing your thing. It just depends on who you're able to connect with.
And no, that makes sense. That makes sense. That's good. And I had to, because I got this shirt and I went to somebody for this shirt, a t-shirt printing person. This is I think Roy, was it
embroidery?
Yeah, exactly. So now I have to get with you on that because I'm trying to get I guess some more apparel, and now that I know that this is what you do, I have to definitely reach out to you.
Yeah.
Have to put in the order with some shirts.
Now my business is called the Printing King.
Okay, the Printing King. Okay.
Yeah. So it's
Okay.
printingking.com. Because you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
So now that's what it is.
Okay. No, yeah, because I was going to ask you, how can people get in touch with you if they did want to order that file?
Yeah, it's the Printing King, the printingking.com.
Okay. I'm gonna put that in the description section.
Please do.
Yeah, for sure. So that we can so then like, what's the next thing? Because you're saying at this point you're doing the t-shirt, the Printing King, and it's going good, but you have some goals, some other stuff that you want to do.
Yeah. So now it's about my energy. Now it's about my energy, because no different than being able to have my energy, play football, and create happiness and joy for people, create finances for me. Like, when I'm printing a t-shirt, I that's your idea.
Yeah.
And I'm just doing it.
Right.
That's really not me being creative.
Yeah.
It's really not me being able to. So then we get into the Black Success Network.
Okay. Yeah.
We get into public speaking. We get into, now I'm sharing my story. I'm one-on-one coaching folks.
Gotcha.
I'm helping people get through transitions. I mean, this is where I'm at now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
People who have achieved a high level of success, and how do I go from this to now this? Whether it's I'm bored or I get cut, how do I rebuild myself? How do I redesign my life?
Yep.
And having those conversations with folks, whether they're teaching high school kids or individuals how to get a job, to now I want a new goal in my life and I want to achieve certain levels. How do I go about separating who I was to who I am and transforming through this transition? Okay. That's what I do now.
Okay. So then how can and do you feel like that's more of a, like, maybe personal satisfaction, just because you can kind of use your life experiences and kind of what you've been through to, I guess, maybe get creative to a certain level and help out other people in a way that they can kind of transform their life going forward?
Yeah. I mean, that's part of the process for me.
Yep.
I mean, we all, whether it's being cut from a team, whether it's working for a business for 20, 30 years, whether it's being in a relationship for, the marriage ends, whether it's divorce or death. I mean, we all have these transitional spaces in our life, no matter what they are. We all have them.
That's true.
And a lot of us get lost and get stuck where the routine becomes a rut, and we are lost. And my life has been very visible, where I was on this pedestal at one point. Like you can see the process there, and all of a sudden I'm not. And a lot of my friends, they had the same thing. Like some of them, rest in peace.
Right.
And,
I got you.
And some of them have clawed their way out.
Yep.
I mean, and that's just people I know. And there's billions of people in the world.
Right.
So that particular loss, that space, it's real.
Yeah.
And I do my best to contribute my energy into that space to help people pull themselves out of there.
Okay.
To be a light in the darkness, if you will.
Right. So if somebody wanted kind of to retain you, or for you to have to help them out as they go through maybe a dark period or a trying period, how can they kind of reach out to you? And I guess
with my website, I am the rainmaker.com.
I am the rainmaker.com. Okay, I got you.
REIGNMAKER.com. I am the rainmaker.com. My social media is Todd J Duckett, and that's pretty much the same on all platforms.
Got you.
So that my email, my email is TJ Duckett TJD at IamTheRainmaker.com. So I mean, in this day and age with social media, you're a couple clicks away.
Yeah.
And we'll start with a conversation. We'll just have a conversation, just see what's up, see where we at.
Yep.
And then see what are our goals.
Yep.
What are we trying to accomplish? And go from there.
No, I like that. So yeah, I'm gonna definitely put, again, all the social media handles, the website into the description section. I guess, again, just trying to be respectful of your time. I just a couple other ventures that I want to talk about, because we talked about it early on and kind of throughout the conversation, as far as the Duckett Brothers distribution. It seems like Tico had the janitorial company, supplies company, and at what point did you kind of circle back and say, okay, I'm gonna get down with you, bro, on this, and let's take this to the next level.
You know, that was when I got done playing. That was the first space I entered.
Okay.
But I didn't understand that space.
Got you.
So I was lost. I was depressed. I'm sitting in this little room, like I got an office, like okay, you know what I'm saying? Like I didn't understand it.
Got you.
But then I had to go out and start my own businesses to see like what is business, like what does that even look like? Now after I played my own game and learned my own thing, now I can bring more to the table for our company that I can actually be a part of.
Got you.
I can actually have. I'm not just the face.
Yeah.
Like I never sold anything. Like,
got you.
You know, I mean, why? I mean, the just learning that whole business. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
So now I can actually, you know, I'm an asset to the business.
Gotcha. So at first, you're at the beginning as you're, doing this thing. You feel like you really couldn't contribute in a way just because you had no experience in business.
I didn't know. I mean, I would go sit in these business meetings and they talking about all this stuff, and I don't know the terminology. I don't know what a PO is. Like I don't know these things.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and I just left this other business, football, where I mean, I can tell you different offenses, defenses. Everything. I can tell you everything.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like, my head's spinning. You know, and because my brother's so good at it, people expected me to be so good at it. And I'm like, I don't know this stuff. And at the same time, understanding that you got like study the playbook. You got to study this stuff.
Yeah.
But I didn't have a passion for it.
Got you.
So I didn't want to do it. You see what I'm saying? All these things that was his dream, his goal. And I thought you played football and then you get into this business. But that was his path. Again, I'm emulating him. I'm following him. But that wasn't my dream. Now, our dream collectively was football. Once that ends, now it's a chance for us both to form our own identity. He formed his, then I walk into his. And I'm like, oh no, this ain't. I don't feel this though. Not the same way. So that's what took me some time to realize that now I'm my own person. Like I have to figure out my own workout, my own path.
Right.
And so, but I do. I mean, that path was volunteering, giving, and serving. But I do have to make money now too. We got to figure out how to keep the cash flow going.
Right, for sure.
So now I got to figure out, okay, what am I willing to do on a day in, day out basis to do that? Which was t-shirt printing was like, I can do that on a day in, day out basis.
Got you.
And now understanding more about what business is, now I go back and I look at the Duckett Brothers distributing a whole different way now.
Yeah, that's like, true.
Oh, this is what you mean. And I've learned what a purchase order is. You know what I'm saying? Like I've learned some of these terminologies on my own. Then I have to come in and have a real conversation.
So I guess, can you maybe for those that don't know what like janitorial supply company is, because I mean I'm actually, when I grew up with a childhood friend, and me and him along with his father who has the company, we used to go and actually clean different buildings and things like that, perform janitorial services, and that in and of itself you can make a lot of money. And even to this day, I'm thinking about maybe making him an offer to see if he's kind of willing to maybe try to sell it as he gets a little older or whatnot. And I guess I'm maybe trying to, as I parse through that, because I like the overhead of kind of not dealing with people, but just having a lot of like overhead with workers in that way. That's something that I kind of go back and forth with as far as, do I really want to do that? But like janitorial supply company, that's something totally different. Can you kind of explain, I guess, what that is?
So there is a cleaning company called D Square Facilities Management.
Okay.
So that's exactly what you're talking about. That's where you go, you clean the building from top to bottom. I mean,
so you guys have that too then?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Bathrooms, floors, taking the trash out, all of that.
That's exactly what.
Janitorial supplies is the products. So the toilet paper, the garbage bags, anything that you use to clean, mops, we sell that stuff.
Gotcha.
So paper towels, all the cleaning supplies.
Right.
I mean, it's I mean, really that simple. And whether it's a home office that needs something, or it's a huge office building, we're able to supply supplies to that building.
Got you.
I mean, so a cleaning company, for example, would come to us and say, we need, 100 bags, we need CFOs, we need,
Yep.
you know, whatever it is they need, and we'll sell them that. We don't do the clean. That company doesn't do the cleaning.
Right. They just sell
It
the
just
product.
sells the product.
Yep. Got you. No, that's good. And I just wanted to make sure that like the different, like again, it's just audience members, they kind of knew what the differences was and they weren't kind of conflating it as far as like actually performing the janitorial services, which you're
Yeah.
saying you guys do
That's a
have a
different
company
company. That's D Squared.
yeah, got you.
Yeah.
But the supply company is supplying the products to the company that's actually kind of
Yes.
cleaning.
Yeah, I'm not involved in the D Squared. I'm
Got
involved
you.
in the Duckett brothers.
Okay. No, that's good. And then so even from that standpoint, if it's somebody out there and they're looking, they're like, hey man, I'm not too much happy with
Come
my
call
supply
us.
person.
Yeah, if you need some toilet paper, we got you, baby.
Yeah. So is that still just the IamTheRainmaker.com
No,
to get in touch?
that's DuckettBrothers.com.
Okay.
Yep, DuckettBrothers.com.
Yeah, I'm trying to plug everything just in case.
I appreciate you, man.
No, for sure. And then I guess the last thing, Duckett Development, the property management company. Is that something that you're doing with your brother? Is that something that you're doing on your own? How did all that come about?
That's me and my brother. That's actually the next phase. That's what we're working on now. That's the goals.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like we still pushing the nonprofits, the big one. That's I mean, for me. That speaking on me.
Yeah, for sure.
So for me, public speaking, helping folks, getting involved. I Am the Rainmaker. That's my number one.
Gotcha.
Nonprofit, New World Flood, giving and serving. That's number two.
Gotcha.
Duckett Brothers. That's still. I mean, that's number one. I mean, all those are up there.
Yeah, but for sure.
As we start to expand our portfolio and what we're doing, now we're looking at getting into some properties.
Gotcha.
And so that's where Duckett Brothers or Duckett Development comes in.
Are you buying properties? If so, is it residential, is it commercial, or are you just building them from the ground up, new construction?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit of both. I mean, it's fairly new territory.
Yeah.
But like I said, that's goals. We try. That's what we would love to. We're working to get into that space.
Got you. No, yeah, because I mean that's something that man I had kind of been doing for about 10 years now, and I definitely have a passion for it. I started like in the residential, and kind of have switched and changed to the commercial side of things, apartment complexes specifically.
What do you like? What you like better?
Man, I just like commercial, just because as an attorney, as an IP attorney, man, that takes so much more of my time. Where when I was doing the residentials, thankfully I had a team, so it made it easier where I'm not on a day in and day out. But you figure you have this house, somebody leaves, now that house is vacant, it's not making you money.
Yeah.
And then if you have 20 houses, for example, I think at my peak I only had about 14 houses. And if you got to worry about 12 roofs, you have to worry about 12 furnaces, 12 hot water heaters. If something go bad, that you have to take care of. Where you have a 20 unit apartment complex, there's only one roof, or just maybe a couple roofs. But and if somebody moves out, you're still making money from the other 19 units. So it's more scalable. And then I can have a property management run things, and I can check in with the property management every so often to make sure they're doing what they need to do. So it just made more sense to me. And especially scaling as my time is kind of, I don't have a lot of time just with the law and the other things that I'm doing. So that just made sense. And then I was able to get a part of a mastermind group. And this guy, he's from Ohio, man. He has to be maybe late 30s, early 40s. He has like 4,000 units worth over 300 million between like the Midwest and the Southeast. And it's, again, just apartment complex. Matter of fact, he literally just bought an island, and he built on an island, and he's having some of his mastermind sessions there. So man, he taught me a lot, because residential property, residential investing and commercial is two different things. And I'm just talking about commercial multifamily, so apartment complex. And I'm not talking about like retail or anything like that. Industrial, that's a whole different ball game, which I'm not in the know of that. But with the commercial multifamily investing in apartment complexes, that was a different ball game from like the residential investing that I was involved in. And I'm glad I was able to get a part of that mastermind group and learn the commercial side of things. It's definitely been paying off for me. I did some deals, Carnegie, Oklahoma, Texas, Fayetteville, North Carolina. So we got
I need to come and talk to you then.
I mean, look, hey, that's definitely, and again, that brings me to my next point in terms of like networking, because it seems like your network, especially with your brother, it kind of really helped out, because you're able to do a lot of different ventures with him, which is cool, because this is somebody that you trust. And that's obviously just going into business with somebody you trust and know have your bad and you guys have similar values. That's important. And again, I have a charge station company as well where we're placing like charge, with electric vehicles. If you need a charge while you're at your apartment complex, whatever the case may be, we're plugging those up at we're dropping those off at apartment complexes, things like that. So we're actually doing some big things on that. We have a couple of press releases coming out with that. But I mean, again, this is a guy that I met in law school, and he ended up transferring to Georgetown Law, and he was telling me about what he was doing with the charge station company, and I just so happen to have already a system built up because I have a call center for my apartment complex, who we call around different apartment complexes throughout the country to see if they want to sell their property. And I'm like, dude, I could just use my team to call to see if they want these charge stations, because he had the network and the relationships with the charge station manufacturers, but he really didn't have a robust network in terms of being able to get opportunities to put these charge stations at different apartment complexes. And I had that network, so I was able to leverage my network with him, and we were like, okay, we're just going to break it down 50-50, and we're going to do this, and we both kind of do what we're good at. And we're, again, and this is something that's going to be a big here, and especially over the next, I would say, year. So it's going to be big. But I'm saying all that to say that my network, whether it was engineering, whether it was law school, whether it was football, just really being able to like leverage those networks and people who are doing things that maybe I'm not good at, but we can kind of put our heads together and what we're doing together, and for a venture that now we can make the most out of the opportunity. So from a networking perspective, how big is that for you as you continue to do ventures? It seems like you have obviously big with your brother, and you guys are doing things on, but as you continue to kind of go forward in other ventures, being able to leverage your network to hopefully maybe partner up.
No, it is good. It's good that, I mean, I don't some things are good to do by yourself,
right?
Especially if you're starting out, especially if you're developing stuff.
Yep.
But once you get to a space, you got to allow other people to help you, and you got to help other people.
Right.
It just works like that.
Gotcha. So no, you're right. You're absolutely right.
I've been blessed to have some people who are on my team, in my corner, and I've been blessed to be able to connect some people with each other.
Yep.
I mean, it's what it's about, regardless.
Yep. No, yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, I just own. I always that's my go-to line. Your network is your net worth. So even just coming up in undergrad, and even now, just kind of really being intentional about who I'm surrounding myself with, who I'm giving time to, things like that. And that's important, because you want people who, and any relationship has to be mutually beneficial, at least in my opinion. You can't just if it's just too one-sided, then it's at some point going to continue to deteriorate to nothing. But I think just being able to
somebody's not going to be happy.
Right, exactly. Just being able to maximize opportunities going forward. It just seems like just being able to just use your network in a way that you guys both can kind of build together and get something out of it, man. I don't know. I just think that's, at least from my perspective, that's always been.
I agree with you.
It's pretty big. So I was just interested in getting your thoughts on those. So no, that's cool. Again, I know we're coming up on 2 hours, which was a lot longer than I told you this would be. So I want to wrap things up. And with that being said, I'll kind of give you the last words. Again, thank you for doing this. I think this was good, and I think this is definitely going to help a lot of people. So
good.
I appreciate you giving me some time.
Thank you for the opportunity, man. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
No, for sure.
Yeah, man. I am therainmaker.com. Check me out. Let me know if I can be of any service in any way. But other than that, man, keep up the good fight, man.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. And hey, with that, we're definitely going to end with that. So, a TI family, until next time.
Yes, sir. Peace. Hello.